As a coach, do you ever wonder why you don't get the loyalty you expect? Do you ever wonder why people don't comply as you expect? Then this show's for you. Why do you coach? Welcome to the Nick Anthony Show. I'm Anthony.
And I'm Nick.
Hey, Nick, how you doing?
I'm good.
Are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
We're a little twinsy today. You know, I went short sleeve, but we twinsed it out a little bit. And I will say,
I did not plan that.
I've used this a couple times in recent episodes, but the pet peeve I've used the words.
Yeah, you have a lot of pet peeves. The list is pretty long.
And when someone says twinning, it's a pet peeve. So
Twinning?
I'm breaking my own rule. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not a word I use a lot of.
Yeah.
So.
All right, let's go. I'm ready.
So, Nick, I was talking to a coach the other day, and it was. I can't describe his emotion, right? I think it was sad, frustration, a whole bunch of things. Because he doesn't really get the loyalty. This is a youth coach.
Yeah. Give me a little context.
Youth coach, right?
Okay.
Doesn't really get the loyalty from families and players as easily as he would expect.
Expect, not
Yes.
want, but maybe want to, but expect.
But,
Okay.
but it is, I think, I think the frustration is because he expects it. But I don't think that applies at all in pro sports anymore. I don't think it applies to college sports. I don't even think it applies to youth sports.
Loyalty.
Okay. Right. I mean, and I heard sports talk radio the other day, and this guy was complaining about, and by the time this show comes on, he may or may not be traded. It'll probably be gone by a couple of months before the show gets publicized or released. But they're talking about AJ Brown. It's just like, there's no I in team. He's only worried about himself. It's like
AJ Brown of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes. Sorry. Thank you
fine.
for that context. Yes, I apologize. But it's like, I'm thinking like, dude, like, okay, this is my inner monologue. Dude, like, if you were at your job and you were unhappy, right, would you expect yourself to suck it up, whatever it was, right? Would you expect yourself to suck it up and stick it out for the sake of your employer, for the sake of your team? Because you're on a team, almost no matter what job you have in this world, you're on a team. And it's like, oh, he's a professional. And maybe it's not a money issue. Maybe it's a Hall of Fame. Maybe it's whatever issue, scheme it, whatever it is, right? But the idea that he's a professional, he only has so many playing years, right? We only have so many years on the earth, right?
Okay.
It's like, there's a point where it's like, yeah, team's important, but it's a business, right? It's a business. With NIL and the transfer portal and all that kind of stuff, college sports like overnight. I don't know if you correct me, but it was almost from my
some sports, yes.
From my perspective, it was like overnight. It went from like, oh my gosh, these are amateurs to where they can't even have a meal, right? To like, here's a few $1 million,
yes.
right? So I think they went pro overnight. And as a parent, I made the transition a while ago in youth sports that, I have to look out for what's best for my own kids, right? And I'm sure every parent's like that. So when I'm not talking to you about sports, I go and talk to ChatGPT or another AI forum or whatever, right? And so ChatGPT is my source, right? So maybe it's wrong. But in the U.S. alone, parents spend $40 billion on youth sports per year.
Mm-hmm.
$40 billion, right? They go, and a lot of families spend more than $10,000 a year per kid on their kid's sport,
mm-hmm.
right? And so ChatGPT plus, right, it's not just money, because it's also like you have to travel to these tournaments, you have to miss work, you have to spend money on flights and all that kind of stuff, which I'm not sure is actually even in that number. But you have to sacrifice you're pulling your kids out of school. Like USA Swimming, it's like their format, they want it to be just like the real, adult,
Yes.
format, right? So their system is you have to miss school to go to a swim meet nowadays.
Yes.
You have to miss school. It's like, and even if you're like 10 years old, you're missing school, right, for these meets. So you're making huge investments as a parent, decisions for your kid, everything else, all kinds of sacrifices to do that. So ChatGPT goes on to say also that families now behave like consumers, investors, talent managers, right? So the clubs have to be more brands and development pipeline, and they can't demand loyalty anymore. So my first question to you is, before we get into what to do about all that, is do you agree, right, that loyalty is not just given just because somebody is a position of authority as a coach?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I definitely agree with that. No, no, I really do agree with that. It's, I think where I'm stuck, and on your story a little bit is the differences of your situation that you kind of spoke to.
Yeah,
It's the money and
did-
such an investment,
Right.
and that is a different level of youth sport, in a sense of, that's not the same as playing baseball in your township right here, right? Down the street.
I will argue with you a little bit, because have you tried to buy a baseball bat recently?
Oh, they're expensive, no doubt. But the baseball bat isn't the loyal. You're not loyal to the baseball bat.
No, but my point is, my bigger
Yeah.
point is that people are putting tons into these sports, $40 billion a
Correct.
year
So
into
give
these
you a
sports.
statement that I've
Yeah, sorry.
said a
Yeah.
lot, because I'm sensitive to this in my position,
Sure.
my day job, is sometimes parents have to decide that a bad experience can be as valuable, if not more valuable, than a good experience. So just making the change to keep changing, to search, and that's where I feel like we are right now, is we're in this chase, going to 4 colleges in 4 years, or going to 3 high schools in 4 years.
Yeah, that's
chasing,
insane.
right? I mean, so, there are plenty of lessons to learn from bad coaches or bad experiences, right? That will help you later in life. Now,
Agreed.
that is
I agree with
a
that.
tricky, slippery slope, I guess, where, where's that line, right?
Right.
And especially in the sense of like these, if you're a ice hockey parent or a water polo parent, like where it's hard to get the facilities.
Ice hockey was one of the most
like
expensive
where
ones,
it's hard to get these facilities and get this time and the investment. Where do you go? Now,
Right.
I am by no means saying, keep your kid in an abusive, coach, and,
Right.
your values have to line up. And I think I'm more speaking to, you didn't like the playing time, or you didn't like those
Yeah.
type of things.
So
That's where I'm, so that's my only, where I hesitated in my
So, no,
response.
I'm not even saying
was
right
that.
or wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not even talking about like what actions you do. I'm saying, like, as a coach, as a youth coach, right?
Yeah.
To recognize that the loyalty equation is broken.
Yes.
It's different. I shouldn't say broken, because I think there's still lots of people that don't jump teams. I still don't think people are changing teams in the middle
Yeah.
of a season or any of that kind of stuff, right? In pros, well, I guess in pros it happens some, but where they demand a trade mid-season, but it doesn't happen a lot. So I'm not even saying that what's the parents are doing what's right or whatever. And I mixed up the story a little bit there, because
Yeah.
I talked about a coach and what he was saying to me, and then how I think as a parent. So really
Yes.
separate those two things out.
Yes.
my point is just it was if he was still thinking like a college coach who's pre NIL. Like
Yes,
I
yes.
I have you for 4 or 5 years,
Yes.
right? I have you because you joined my club and you're never going to change clubs,
Yes.
kind of thing, right? You joined my swim team, you're never going to change swim teams now, right? Um, the bigger point is just like whether, regardless of what I do as a parent,
Yep.
just what the way the world is families behave like consumers, investors, and talent
Yep.
managers,
Yeah.
right? Parents are spending literally $40 billion on these sports, and for them not to act like consumers,
Yes.
right, would actually be kind of a surprise.
Yeah. So
Right?
talk about why. So then what's the next iteration of that? Like what would help with the loyalty?
So first, you have to accept it, right, and realize that the model of when you and I were kids, or even this coach I'm talking about was a kid, it just doesn't apply anymore, right? And that's the biggest thing. It's just like recognize that you don't get anything automatically,
Mhm.
right? You just don't get it automatically. You need to go out and figure out how to deliver value to each kid in that program, right? Just like each single kid. Like, you're a big Wawa fan, right? And I like Wawa too, but we like Wawa for different reasons.
Yep.
Right. But Wawa knows their value statement. And for those of you who are watching this in other places, Wawa is like a 7-Eleven on steroids. It's just amazing. It's a totally different thing than a 7-Eleven. But you love them for their coffee.
Yep.
Right. You just love how easy it is, the variety, all that kind of stuff. You can get and go and out
Speed.
of that. Speed. Right. That you
Convenience and
love,
coffee.
right. I love having lunch there. It
Mhm.
sounds crazy, but they just have
No, no.
automated systems, really fast, tons of variety, and they do just about their number of combinations they can do on a sandwich is probably infinity.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to calculate how many choices there are, and they can do it like pretty quick, pretty fast. And so I love it, and it's good. It's
Yeah,
good, right?
yeah.
It's not convenience store food, even
Yes,
though it's
yes.
a convenience store. So they know the value statement. So Wawa knows exactly who you are, and not as a person, but your profile. They know me as a profile. And so they know they have to deliver value. If they ever screw up their lunch counter, their sandwich making counter, I'm gone,
Mhm.
right? So it's the same thing, as hard as it is for a coach to think about it. I say in pros, college, youth sports, high school sports, everyone has choices now,
Mhm.
right? And you have to think about, what is my value statement to Nick the athlete? What is he going to get that he keeps coming back to my program, that he wants to keep getting coached by me and be part of my program? And that's a big leap for a lot of people that take it for granted, like, oh, I've got this captive audience. There are no more captive audiences,
Mhm.
right? And so I think there's lots of things
Well, in college basketball or football, the captive. I mean,
there. So
money talks. So sometimes it
Well-
isn't totally appropriate in that sense, because the money's going to the value is going to the student athlete. And I say student athlete with quotes.
right. No, I agree, right? But that's still a value statement. So why do I want to tolerate being coached by this bad coach? The answer may be money.
Yeah.
Right.
Sad to say.
No, it's sad. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
And I'm not.
I know
I'm
you're
not.
not.
I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
I'm
put
emphasizing it.
my values anywhere, right? Because it's heartbreaking to me that college sports have changed so much,
Yeah.
right? So they're
Yeah.
really.
What would I have been worth?
I don't know, Nick.
0. Go ahead.
No, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. We'll have that discussion.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to run you down on camera. But I'm just making a statement, just an observation. My observation is that really you have to provide a value.
Give me an example of a value statement. Do you have one? Like if I'm, why would I want to play for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it depends what
You've been
level.
bragging about your water polo
No, I have
part-time
not.
gig.
No. I'm
I'm
quite
just
aware.
kidding. Go
No,
ahead.
no.
I'm
No.
totally kidding.
Okay.
Yes.
But let me use somebody else as an example.
Yeah,
Right? And
okay.
that is, if you go to if like this guy got.
You could do a business. You could relate it to business if it's easier. Something
I
you've
will
given.
use actually one of
Okay.
my kids. So
All
my
right.
kid went to private lessons with his water polo coach, right? And in 3 days, he most fundamental thing in water polo is you're doing what's called egg beater.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like your stance, probably in any other land sport, right?
Yep.
But it's how you stand in the water,
Yep.
right? Because you're not touching bottom. You have to tread the whole time. You're over your head. But so getting your legs right is hugely important, right? And so this guy created 4 inches more out of the water in 3 days with my son. And this is a couple years ago. So
And he didn't grow. Go ahead.
He didn't grow. No. I just in 3 days he just got him to be able to egg beat her in a way. And the other, he'd been going to other coaches, seeing other coaches, playing for other teams, and it just like they didn't have time. So did I get value out of paying for that?
So less than sometimes not like necessarily a value statement, but a value. You're giving straight value.
Yeah, it
right?
is value.
I mean,
it is value. So
Yeah.
like I have a friend of mine who says what he is actually in charge of a club. He's like the parent overseer, and he's like he tries to get the coaches all the time to come into the stands and watch a practice and just watch one kid.
Mhm.
Just like, what did that kid get out of this practice today? And if there's not an answer, there's a problem,
Yes.
right? And then you multiply that over a season or a month or whatever. If there's not value, that's a problem. And I go back to Joe Seglia's interview that we did with him.
Yep.
He hates lines, right? And there's so many practices, whether it's basketball or whatever, I don't even know, where kids are just standing around a ton,
Mhm.
right? So what value, and I know it's like necessary a little bit, that in some cases they have to stand there for a little, but you have to do something, right? He has them dribble,
Yep.
right? And I did run a water polo practice last Sunday, actually, and I had them just do the tip drill. Like when they were waiting for their turn to shoot, I had them egg beatering, hands out of the water, just tipping the ball back and forth like this. So they were getting the workout and they're working on their hand, ball control at the same time, instead of just floating on the ball.
Yes.
Right. And so there are things and I'm not saying that's a value you get from me, but I did provide more value to them that day because they worked on things. They weren't just standing around. But so whatever it is, you have to look at it from the player's perspective. And you have to know what value you're delivering, or you don't get loyalty back.
We'll be right back to the Nick Anthony Show.
Today's show is brought to you by John Gannon Music, genre-exploding music for your daily adventures. Visit johngannon.bandcamp.com. That's johngannon.bandcamp.com, and look for it on all music streaming platforms.
Welcome back to the Nick Anthony Show.
Loyalty
So- Yeah.
it's not automatic anymore.
So I don't know if this is a pushback or
no,
not.
please. Yeah.
But oftentimes, players or parents or, don't necessarily know, they can't recognize the value that they're receiving.
Okay.
Okay. So, which is a tricky thing when we're talking about consumer and such.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so I would lead that into, they have to articulate that value.
the coaches do.
The coaches.
The coaches have to find a way. Yeah.
So, for instance, and I can't necessarily give a specific, but I'm picturing a situation where, we're working on this skill or this, skill is probably the best way to say it. And the parent or the player doesn't necessarily understand or relate why that
Yeah.
is going to help them, right? And so are we talking that the coach has to explain it, which is probably true in the world today, that you kind of have to explain the why a lot more, but they often don't understand the value of what they're doing. And they're and I'm very old school, so there needs to be a little level of trust and I'm speaking from player, kid to and parent to the coach. Now we're trying to help the coaches a little bit, and so I think your point, if I'm hearing it right, and I agree with it, is you have to recognize that they may not understand that. And instead of just saying, trust me,
Yeah.
be loyal,
Right.
you have to explain to them
Right.
why, right? I mean,
Absolutely. And I don't mean to imply, Nick, is every practice, right?
Mhm.
But it has to be part of the mindset. So I did coach a water polo practice last Sunday for a couple hours.
Yep.
I had a bunch of beginner kids,
Yes.
right? And they just wanted to shoot, right? That's just what they wanted to do. But water polo, just like every sport, there's a lot more to it than that, right? So I had them for 2 hours, but I had a 110-minute plan and then 10 minutes for buffer, right? But we did a whole bunch of skills that seemed independent at first, right?
Mhm.
We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then the very last thing we did for the last 20 minutes was all of those things combined.
Yes.
And then they got to shoot at the end of that. So
Yep.
they got the whole buildup. And so they walked away thinking, oh, I understand now why we did those
Mm-hmm.
things, because at the end I was able to do this that I couldn't do before I came to practice today.
Yep.
So it's more of a mindset thing. And again, I'm not talking for what I'm
Yes.
really talking about. I'm not talking about every practice,
yes,
right?
I got
Because
you. I got you. Makes sense.
coaches are the experts, the parents aren't. But if the parents know, like, wait a second, my son, my daughter, my player isn't getting any better. Not a playing time issue,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like they're not getting better. Because I'm not talking about leaving players behind. I'm not talking about only focusing on good players. I'm not talking about telling good players. I'm just saying you've got to look at your whole program and say, why should this person be here? What are they getting from my service that I'm providing? And it is persuasive, right? And it is absolutely your job as a salesperson to explain to somebody why they should engage with your company, engage with your service, engage with your product or whatever, right? And so what I see is a lack of really, I don't know if empathy is the right word, but understanding what the parent sees, understanding what the player sees, and thinking from that perspective.
Yeah.
And actually, I brought a prop in because there's this, because you brought up the word sales, but there's this old book written in the 1930s, almost 100 years old, right? Called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I can nail it
You
down.
made me
And-
read it.
What's that?
You made me read it at one point.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I can't remember it.
That's well, I'll give you the book summary in a second.
No,
but I
it was
really
very good.
believe what you do remember.
I mean, it was very good. I remember
Yeah,
when we were
yeah.
going through things.
But I really believe like 90% of the sales books that are out there or lessons or whatever could go away if you just read this. Same thing with people management, right? You read this book, 90% of all those people management things would just go away.
Mhm.
And the basic premise is like learn how to think from the other person's perspective,
Mhm.
right? And even when I talk about my friend saying, get in the stands, just go in the stands, pretend you're that kid's parent, and tell me what value, that parent sees you delivering to them that day.
Yes.
Right. But again, I agree with you. Loyalty, you need to have some trust as a parent. You need to go, you can't just like, oh, it was a bad practice, I'm out of here. Right. You have to look at a season, you have to look at time, you have to look at that kind of stuff. But to expect as a coach, like to automatically get loyalty season after season, year after year in today's world
Yeah.
is just, it's not the way the world is anymore.
Yeah.
Where the world really is, you have to know what value you're delivering. And
Yeah.
why.
I mean,
And you have to know me as a customer, right? I want my sandwiches. You as a customer, I want my coffee. So kids can be in the same program and still get value. Like this kid might want to say, I want to play college,
Mhm.
right? This kid might want to be, I just want to play through high school and have a good time. Well, okay, that's okay. But you need to know that as the coach and figure out, right? Are they getting that value out of it?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, you probably have to have, depending on that different level of stuff, you have to decide. I mean, both probably the coach and the player / parent, is this the right program for them? Right.
And it
I mean, in both ways.
But it depends how big the
like-
program is. So
Correct.
like,
Yes. Yes.
back when I have older kids and younger kids. My older kids were playing soccer, right? One in particular, there was like a rec. It's all in the same program,
Mhm.
right? But then they had local teams that played not just locally. Sorry, they played locally, right? That was their focus. And then they had travel teams,
Mhm.
and so kids could be in that program, but the parents and the kids probably wanted very different things. But if this parent just said, you know what, my kid's never playing in college, I don't want them to that intensity. I want them just to enjoy the game, and then that's fine. And then there's parents here. It's like, okay, I want to figure out how to get my kid on this travel team. My kid wants to figure out how to get on that travel team. What do we have to do? And then they have programs to help them.
Yeah.
Right. And so it all, right. So you're absolutely right. You have to know what they want. And if the program is big enough, you have to address it. But you're right, Nick, that not every player belongs in every program.
Mhm.
So like if I were to walk into Wawa without a shirt on and, start trying to fight with the other patrons and that kind of stuff, would I be somebody that Wawa wanted in their stores?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, I'm not an ideal customer. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
right, they would find a way to exclude me. So I'm not saying that you should exclude anybody, but you have to be realistic and understand what your program is.
Yes.
Because you have to know for everybody you're engaged with, right, what's the value statement?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this has a lot to do in my world with recruiting. From the initial start, and obviously at that point, you're still trying to build loyalty. I mean, you are literally selling. They're not in your program right now, so you're trying to get them to be in your program.
Right.
Let's say, and then to the point we made at the beginning is, it isn't just almost a given that that they're just going to stay, right? That you aren't. I mean, I hear it so much in college athletics now. Is you are continuously recruiting your own players.
Correct, and that's
kind of sad to me. But I mean, I think in a way I've been somewhat preaching that for years in different terminology, in that you have to create an experience for them that they won't want to leave.
correct.
Right. And that's what I've always told our coaches
We're saying the same
before
thing
the
in
portal.
different
Yeah.
words, yeah.
Before the portal, before NIL, before all of it, are you creating a program that people want to be a part of?
Right.
Do people care? And it's funny, this is maybe slightly off topic. But one of my, I often get asked, what are my expectations as I'm hiring a new coach? Like what are my expectations? I have to win a champion, all this.
Mhm.
And my answer has always been, create a program that has energy to the point where people care. People care as in recruits.
Right.
People care as alums, as the school. They are proud of it. And what happens in that? You win. Obviously, you have good people in your program. You're professional. You raise money. You are out and about. You lead. So create programs that people care about. Now, in relation to this, is if you create an energy around your program, you become bigger than in a lot of these individuals, and you get confident that if you're not loyal to this, and this is a positive energy, then maybe it isn't the best place for you, right? But you, as a coach, as kind of we've talked about back and forth, but you have to recognize that and to make sure the energy you're creating kind of is a program that your players, your students want to be a part of. And I just think it is critical in this sense to keep your bigger picture in mind, your mission without compromising, but then also, hey, just because they were here last year doesn't mean they're coming back. And again, I'll probably say it over and over in multiple episodes is I hate that I have to say that, because it is the way of the world. It really is the way of the world.
Right.
And it's much different. I mean, when Carly, my daughter, got recruited by, schools and wound up choosing Penn State, and, to the point of what the value she was told when she went in was 95%, if not 99% accurate.
It was accurate.
Was accurate.
Okay.
What the coaches said she would experience, she experienced. They delivered. Now we were pretty confident about that going in. You're not necessarily confident, if they're going to get to a Final Four
Yeah,
or they're
you
going to
don't
win
know
a
that, right?
championship.
It's sports, right?
But that she was going to, compete, grow as a person, learn how to work extremely hard, experience being around the best, have role models in her life. All that became true.
But those are all value statements.
Correct. That's what I mean. That's my point. I
and-
mean, when you talked to me about it, this week when we were, kicking around ideas, that part really resonated with me because her recruiting pitch, the coaches at Penn State, their recruiting pitch to Carly was dead on. I mean, they were spot on. And a lot of it, to relate, came back to it was so authentic. Like the coaches that recruited Carly were so authentic. And that's why we obviously, and Carly in particular, related to them,
Right.
but they gave a value and it was clear what we were going to receive, what Carly was going to receive over other schools,
Right.
And they delivered. Now, she doesn't know if she would have had better value somewhere else. We'll never know. But
Right.
in the end, you're evaluating what experience she had in that program, and they delivered.
Right. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right. So with my daughter, with the club team that she belonged to, right, for years, her practices were ending at 9:00 at night, and we were driving. It's an hour
Yep.
away, right?
Yep.
And then so she on school nights she was 13, even 12, I think, but getting not getting to bed on a school night till 11:00 at night.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And a lot of these, especially in water polo, there's a lot of players that are good at water polo are good at typically in a lot of other sports, whether it's swimming or whatever else. Right. And they have choices.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't approach things, and I'm not picking on any water polo, I'm just like using her as a real life example. But what you talked about when you're recruiting, and I'm not a college recruiting expert at all,
Yeah.
but you said very clearly Carly was given value statements. You knew what she was going to get. When you recruit recruits at Drexel, they know what they're going to get because I know you're a truthful, honest person, and your coaching staff are truthful, honest people because of you. So they know what they're going to get. But you make that value statement. The only thing that NIL has really done is make you say it more often and make sure you're living what you promised, right? And the point of the story that I told at the beginning of this is just that's everywhere now.
Yep.
That's not just pros, professionals getting paid millions and millions of dollars, right? It's not just college with NIL. It's youth sports too.
Yep.
Because these parents are spending billions of dollars as a group,
Yeah.
right? Tens of thousands of dollars on their own for each individual kid. They need to see value.
Yeah, so,
if you aren't expressing the value enough, so I get it. One practice, I agree.
No,
Practice,
I
right? But
I
if you're
think
not expressing enough over a season, then I say today as a coach, you're not doing your job, and that's harsh for me to say. But you need to be persuasive. You need to be empathetic with the parent who's spending all this time, energy, and money
yes.
to do this, and say, "Am I really delivering value?"
Yeah.
And if you're not asking yourself that question, right, then you're not. I don't think you're doing your job anymore.
Well, yeah, and I would take money out of it, frankly, in a sense,
fine.
because just for the sake of this
have
point,
options now,
of this point is, you guys and getting home at 11:00 at night, right?
Well, to bed, right?
To
Home
bed.
around 10. Yeah.
Either way,
Yeah.
I mean, it's is our coaches in this sense, and I'd say this about youth coaches. You want to talk about just giving value to parents and being empathetic,
Right.
Is when you say practice is going to end at 6:00, or when you say practice is going to end, even more importantly, at 9:00.
Yeah.
End it at 9:00. That is
That's
value.
a great point because
That is value
Yeah.
to the parents.
Yeah.
The number of times that I may have stayed in a parking lot and I thought it was 6:00. It's 6:20. It's 6:25. That is bad value. I will tell you that. I mean, because you were talking about using the word empathy. Empathy to parents is they have things to do, right, and they need a schedule, and you have to respect their schedule. And I mean, the organization of a coach, a youth coach, a whatever it is, that is value to the parents. And I'll go to college. When you say we're going to do this and we're going to lay out this season and we're going to stay overnight after this game, and all the parents make arrangements to stay that night, because I'll actually maybe able to see my son or daughter for an hour or
Right.
so after the game. And then you change it, 2 weeks out and decide, I think we're just going to get on the bus right after the game and we're going to head to the next city.
Right.
That's a bad experience, and not being cognizant
Right.
of your consumers, in this case, kind of the parent experience. And I would say to all coaches to be conscious and empathetic to the parent experience. Now, I will admit this. I learned this a lot more becoming a parent than I
Right.
ever did prior to becoming a parent.
Well,
And-
that's
and
why that's why
specifically-
your perspective is so valuable.
Yeah, I mean, specifically, with Carly playing in college, I noticed it, and I remember asking myself questions like, "Oh, this is so great." I mean, some of my favorite memories of her 5 years were being on the road, and whether I was by myself or Mo was with me, taking Carly out for dinner after the game,
Right.
and bringing a teammate maybe, and just having that time. And to me, that was complete recognition of us as our experience
Right.
in the moment and as consumers, right? And then kind of relating it back to my job and being on the road and thinking, yeah, that might be better for the team, taking off right after the game because everyone's wired already. They're not going to sleep anyway. Why don't we just get there and then you have a full night's sleep? That might be true, and there might be some sport performance related stuff, but ultimately that experience, is that the best
Right.
for the
Right.
consumer, for the parent,
Right.
and being empathetic to that? So just a simple point, I think, is just coaches being conscious of, are they giving the parents and the consumer and the kid? I mean, we broke it down minutely to maybe the practices or whatever,
Right.
the value. Are they getting better? Are they having fun? Are they all these different things? And
Whatever
and
value
explain
it is you're
correct.
trying to.
But are they also kind of keeping the
Right.
big picture, that this simple things in life that are just knowing when things are, sticking to a schedule?
Right.
People want to know what is in front of them, and so I think those being organized and not changing and things like that is such value
Right.
to them. So just kind of a point to relate both of them together.
Right. No, and I agree 100%. And that is, just to start putting a bow on this a little bit. It's really, the world's changed, like it or not, right? You're not going to get automatic, loyalty anymore. It doesn't matter what level it is anymore. As sad as you might think that is. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it is.
Mhm.
And when that happens, you need to make sure that every single person understands the value that they're getting, even if they don't necessarily can articulate it,
Mhm.
right? Like, go back to the Wawa and the sandwich thing, right? I just want a sandwich.
Mhm.
Is that the value? I mean, Wawa knows all about me, right? Not me personally, but like, no, I just mean like, no, that they know there's just some
Yes.
people that want
Yes.
sandwiches
Yes.
like this.
Yes.
That's our ideal customer for sandwiches,
Yep.
right? And so, I can't articulate that if I weren't, who I am and have the perspectives that I have, but I still know something feels good. It feels right,
Yes.
right? Wawa can articulate it, even though I can't. So as a coach, you need to be able to articulate, or as somebody running a program, or a parent on a board running a program, you need to be able to articulate, like, what value is this kid getting, and this kid, and this kid, and this kid,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? You just have to know.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I'll just tie it really quick to
Yeah.
something, but Chris Bates, when we had him on, and his individual development program, it's a value
Absolutely.
in itself, right? I mean, he's basically working through the value of
Yes.
what is going to happen with you
Yeah.
over your development as a player in our program, and a person probably. So just a cool little, tie it around,
Absolutely. And I believe in that so much, but that's a great example, Nick, of you work with Chris Bates, you get that value. That's
Yes.
part of the value that he delivers.
Yeah.
Right. And any parent, I haven't made it happen yet, but my kids know I want to make it happen, and Chris knows I want to but I want him to do that with them.
And new listeners, Chris Bates was on one on a previous episode
Right.
and in previous episodes in an interview that I think you'd like to tune into.
Yep.
So,
all
all right, good stuff.
Great, Nick. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. We really want to hear from you. Let us know what your values are and what your value statement, what you're giving to your players. We're excited to hear back from you as we always are. So please comment and give us questions so we know where your heads are thinking and so we can talk about it. Thanks for joining us for today's show. We want to hear from you with your questions and comments. You can find us at thenickanthonyshow.com and our social media handles, which you can find in our description.